Good evening everyone, and thanks so much for joining us tonight for the free information webinar about the very exciting Get Up to Speed program. I'm so glad you're able to join us tonight and hear all about this very exciting program that's being delivered all over Queensland. So to make sure that you guys are really comfortable with this technology, because this is what this program's all about, I want to first make sure that you understand how this webinar works. Now I want to make sure that you can see a little red arrow and that you can click on that red arrow and that will expand the menu. You should then be able to see a little hand, a little blue button, and I want you to raise your hand now to show me that you can hear and you know how this thing works. So if I say, does this apply to you, raise your hand that you can do that. Cool, I can see lots of hands going up, so you seem to have the hang of it. That's great. So from time to time during tonight's presentation, I might ask you, does that apply to you, and ask you to put up your hand. Okay, so to tell you a bit about the program, that's what you're on here tonight. This program is funded by Skills Queensland Strategic Investment Fund. You can see on there presented by Broadband Today, and we're really excited to have Michael Wyatt from Broadband Today online tonight. He's going to tell us a little bit more about that organisation, how this whole thing came about, and then the Creative Collective, my company, are really proud to be developing and delivering the content for this program. So a little bit more information on me. That's me there. My name's Yvette Adams. As you can see there, I've started lots of different businesses. I didn't really know it at the time because I didn't know what an entrepreneur was, but I guess I sort of have been one since I was about 17 years old, because my very first business was when I was 17 and I started a secondary school sports newspaper because I was a sports nut basically, and felt like my hometown of Wellington, New Zealand, where I grew up, needed that sort of thing. So that's how the whole thing started, and now these days I work with startups right through to large corporates, helping them with their business strategies, their marketing strategies. My company, the Creative Collective, basically offers services in the creative space, so social media, search engine optimization, pay-per-click, website design, the list goes on. But these days we really like doing the training side of things as well. Now I've just had Michael Dodge say that he can't see a visual, so could I just see you raise your hands if you can see the slides fine at your end, and if it just might be Michael having an issue there. So Michael, if you can't see those slides, I'm not quite sure what the issue is. Most of the hands are going up there, so I just encourage you to persevere with maybe the settings on your computer. Okay, here's what we've got in store tonight. We're hoping to run through some stuff for about an hour. We've never run this exact presentation before, so it's a little bit hard to know exactly how long it will take. And I have got a few people I'd like to introduce you to as well. But I will go quite fast, and I will also let you know that we are recording this, so if for any reason you want to go over a point, you felt it went too fast, please know that you will get the opportunity to hear more about it at a later date. And pretty much you can see on screen there, this presentation is broken up into two parts. It's all about the opportunity. You know, what is this whole digital age, the digital wave? What is the NBN? What does all this stuff mean for your business? So I want to give you some content. So even if after today you just decided it was worth getting on just to get some free information, that's fine. Hopefully you'll get it in that component. And then in that second part, I'll tell you all about the program, what it is and how you can get involved. And then at the end we'll do questions. So how does that sound, everyone? Put up your hand if you're happy with that, and we'll move on. Yep, lots of hands. Good, we're happy. We'll move on. Okay, right now I'd like to introduce you to a guy called Michael Wyatt, who, as you can see on the screen, is the Broadband and Digital Economy Manager of the Sunshine Coast Council. But not only that big role, he's also the co-chair of Broadband Today. So let me unmute you, Michael. G'day, Michael.
Hi, Yvette. How are you tonight?
Yeah, good, thank you. I hope you like the picture I pulled up of you on the internet. It was publicly available.
I'm not sure it's, I'm not sure it's my best photo, but anyway.
So Michael, tell us a little bit about your role, I guess, in both the council and Broadband Today.
Well, look, I guess 3 quick points. First one is working for Sunshine Coast Council, seeing the opportunity to help businesses in terms of economic development and business development, to understand more about what the options are in the digital world. And through the group that I co-chair, the Broadband Today Alliance, 125 councils or so across Australia, we see a very strong demand for businesses to learn skills in the digital space. And so when the funding opportunity came up from Skills Queensland last year, Sunshine Coast Council took the lead role, applied on behalf of the Alliance and a number of councils that are involved, and we were successful in getting that funding. So we're really pleased to be able to then appoint the Creative Collective, Yvette, to be able to deliver that course for us, and we'll see that being rolled out through this program over the course of the next few months, and the second session will go through until towards the end of the year. So it's really good to have it, and good to see the amount of interest there is in it.
Absolutely. So tell us a little bit more about how this whole program came about as well, and just how big broadband today is and what impact it's having, I guess, across the nation.
All right. Well, look, I guess just to suggest in the same way that community groups work together or sports groups work together, and what we've done with broadband today is to bring together a whole range of different councils across Australia. The biggest from Brisbane through to the smallest. I know one council only has 902 people who live in it in New South Wales. So there's quite a range of councils involved. They're all looking at how they can work and support the businesses and the community in their own area. And the other thing that we have is the affiliate organisations. We work with the department in Canberra, Minister Conroy's office around the National Broadband Network. We work with NBN Co, Telstra, Optus, Vodafone, and a number of universities and other groups across Australia. And through that collaboration or that alliance, we're actually sharing information that traditionally hasn't been shared, and we're also working to break down some of those barriers so that we can actually provide support programs for councils and council areas across Australia. And I think if you just move to the next slide, I guess, Yvette, just to show the extent of coverage across Australia, across Queensland. We have something like 3.9 million out of 4.3 million people covered in Queensland with all those councils, and then large numbers in New South Wales and Victoria, growing in South Australia. Western Australia, we've got a good presence, and even Auckland and Bay of Plenty in New Zealand, you can see on the right hand side there. And so in Australia we have almost 8 million people represented, or 1 in 3 people, which is a great place to be, and we're starting to really get some good inroads in working on behalf of councils with the state governments and with the Commonwealth Government and the carriers to provide the infrastructure, and then through programs like this one to provide the support programs so people can learn to take advantage of what's coming. So at the end of the day, as the slide shows here, we're looking to help businesses, community and industry groups to get access to information and learn about the digital economy. Yep. And that's it from me. The rest is all the information that Yvette will be able to help you out with across the course of the night.
Well, thanks so much for getting on, Michael. It's really good to have you on here and tell us in your words, how this all came about. And we know that you've done a huge amount of work behind the scenes to get this happening, and I really believe it's a really important role you've got there with Broadband Today, making sure that the information being rolled out by the government and NBN Co is actually getting out via the councils to the businesses, the community groups, basically at the grassroots level. So thanks so much for that. I'll just mute you again now, and we'll continue on because there is a fair bit to get through. However, I'm not sure, actually I'll just ask you, Michael, are you planning on staying around if people have questions of you later, or they can direct them to me?
Look, I might have to leave in a little while, but I'll certainly listen in for this first part. But thanks for the opportunity to participate tonight, Yvette. Thank you.
No problem. Thanks, Michael. Okay, we'll mute him and move on. So, as I said, what we're now going to cover is this opportunity. Now that we sort of know who the people behind it are, what does this mean to you? So here's some content for you. Let me take you on a little journey. Look, in my world, I like flicking up this picture to explain to people, for me, what's happening out there. I want you to look at those little A's in the background, which basically represent online activity. And I want to make the point that whether you like it or not, there is a lot going on online right now. Now, I know all of us live in the everyday world too, but I think you would be hard-pressed to say now that the online world isn't affecting the offline world in any way. I like this picture because it goes to show that You know, people used to be able to do this talking to each other, and they would say word of mouth. And if someone had ever said something good, bad, or otherwise about your business, you would probably go up to them if it was bad and take them up about it, or you'd probably go and thank them if it was something good. These days, online, the thing is, things are being said about your company, whether you like it or not, whether you choose to participate or not. So I'd really encourage you to participate, to at least be aware and monitor what is being said, so that you then have a voice and some level of control over your online reputation. It's pretty important stuff. And these days they're talking about not just word of mouth, but word of mouth, because literally whatever goes on there can be hugely amplified. And if it's positive stuff, which we're going to show you in the program how to achieve, that can have some pretty great business benefits. Now this picture basically is what I see a lot of people all over Queensland doing. I've had the absolute pleasure of going around and through some digital economy forums, meeting hundreds of small businesses across Queensland and big businesses too. And some of them are doing this, unfortunately. They're sticking their head in the sand and they don't want to know about it. Hands up if you know someone who's like this when it comes to technology in the digital age. They just don't want to know. Put up your hands if you know someone. I'd say all of us do, whether it's a family member, a friend, or maybe even someone in our business. Maybe even some of us are like this. But look, I want to ask you, what's the one big thing that's exposed if you have this approach to the online world? What's exposed? I'd like you to drop me a text chat, so you can do that under the questions section. You can all feel free to write little messages to me or Zoe I've got online too tonight, who I'll introduce you to in a moment. I'll go through and say it's actually your behind, it's your backside, whatever you want to call it. It's pretty exposed there. So if you basically put your head in the sand, some bad things can happen. So don't do that. The other thing I constantly hear, and this may even be something for you, their reason for not looking at the digital age, what it means for their business, then they're not looking at maybe changing their business model or changing their business processes and systems to digitize them or automate them, improve the efficiency, because they say they haven't got the time to do that. Hands up if that's you. You're really time poor in business. You really struggle with that aspect. It's a pretty common one. I know I do too sometimes. The other really common one I get is, I haven't got the money. Who knows people who use that as an excuse basically not to take a look at all this stuff. Sure, there's lots of us and lots of hands going up at these questions I'm asking you, which doesn't surprise me. I want to make the point also that times are actually tough, and look, I don't usually like to focus on the negative side of business, but the fact is there are a number of companies, unfortunately, that are entering into insolvency at this time. In fact, I went and looked up some stats, and it's up 10% on last year. It's the highest April number since 1999. Unfortunately, Queensland's also got one of the highest rates of that happening, so not good at all. Hands up if you know someone in your local community that has gone under recently or who's really struggling. They're right on that line right now and they've got to pull out some kind of stop. Wow, there is a sea of hands going up on that question, and it's quite scary. The scary thing is, according to Taylor Woodings, which is an accounting firm who's done a heap of insolvency work, they say there's actually a lot more to go this year, and they think things will level out next year is their prediction. So what's causing businesses to fail? I'd love you to send through on text chat what reasons you think are that businesses are falling over at the moment. Is it the economy? But what specifically in the economy is it that's making this happen? Drop a text chat under the question function. So it's kind of like MSN or Skype or Facebook chat. If you've used any of those technologies, you can just write me a little message and it's going to pop up. Okay, Peter says not responding to their clients. In a way, Bronwyn says innovative way of doing things. Lee says the GFC and technology. Brad says customer service. Christine says no one knows their business is out there. Lizzie, that's true, Christine. I think you mean they're not promoting it. Lizzie says people are tending to save instead of spend. I think that's very true too. So we've got great suggestions coming through now. Lee said become too comfortable with how easy it was to earn money without applying firm business principles. I agree. I think there's been a sense of complacency. She says government interference and lack of fundamental cash flow management. I have to agree with you there. Not being flexible enough with their business model, inadequate planning and execution. All really good points, people. Thanks for contributing. Well, look, me and my team also sat around and thought about this question, and here's what we come up with. We do think there's still some outfall from the global financial crisis and that's having an impact. There's no denying that, and I guess we're all waiting with bated breath to see what happens in Europe. There continue to be bailouts, and it depends on what happens there to some degree as to whether it does roll over onto us in Australia here. There's also the high Aussie dollar, which is good for some but bad for others, particularly bad for exports and tourism industries. You've also got people not spending as much in the retail world is a bit of a problem. Got the higher cost of just running a business and just living generally. So a lot of us are pulling more money out of the business to live for petrol and rent and electricity. And similarly, we're spending more money on those core things. There's less left over at the end of the day. Hands up if you agree with that statement yourself. Put your hands up if you're finding that, things just cost more basically. There's also tighter lending by the financial institutions, and whereas people might have been able to get a loan or an overdraft, these days they're finding they just can't access that money, so that becomes a real issue, and some of them are having to close the doors. So they're all reasons for causing the businesses I think are failing in Queensland, but here's the really big reason I think is also the move to digital. Who would agree with that? That's having an impact on some businesses and making them go under. Put your hand up if you agree with that statement. Sure, lots of you do. Probably why you got on here. So look, the casualties of the digital age, there's quite a few. Newspapers are in record decline, and here on the Sunshine Coast where we're based, we've just seen a major one that's been around for 20 years and has multiple publications, employs a lot of people. It's a real shame. They've just announced there's not going to be another publication. So sad. I worked in media for years. That was my bread and butter, so it's sad to see that. What about these guys, Encyclopedia Britannica? They don't print anymore. Sure, they've got an online arm, but I bet they're not as profitable as they once were when they did the old door sales around in the 80s. I remember them coming around saying, invest in your children's future, this is the way forward. And people did, but that business model just isn't current anymore. What about Kodak? That's a recent casualty. I mean, that's a major giant. It was a major brand, global, and they just unfortunately didn't digitize enough, and they didn't keep up with the technology, and what do you know? They've announced they're not going to be around much longer. And isn't it ironic, I think, that someone like Wow Sight and Sound that sell all that technology may not have been, I don't really know the true reason, but I guess practicing good business practice, and yet another casualty. So look, there's a blank epitaph there, and that's all a bit morbid, but I really hope it's not your business or someone in your area or one of your friends that goes next. And this is what this program is really all about, making sure you're not the next big statistic, making sure you get the right information on board, that you not only get the information on board, but you actually execute, and that you get some real results in business. Here's a slide I put together as well to kind of sum up what's happening and just how fast the stuff is moving, because that's something a lot of people I know are really struggling with too. It's not necessarily what's happening, but it's the speed at which it's happening. Hands up if you just can't seem to keep up with technology and the way this is all moving so fast at the moment. You know what? I'm not afraid to say I'm struggling myself, and I live and breathe this stuff every day. I love it. So if I'm struggling, if this isn't your core business, look, you're not alone. Don't worry about that. And lots of you just put up your hands then. Let me take you through this little time continuum of how fast technology is innovating. 1950s, back here at the start, where you should be able to see my cursor, computers were invented. They could have taken 2 people to operate them. They were huge contraptions. Some of them even took up a whole room. Then 30 years later, it took 30 years for the next evolution where computers started looking like this, and that's the sort of computer I grew up with, the old floppy disk. There were Commodore 64s and all that fun stuff as well. Now, when that happened, a guy called Bill Gates, I think some of you will know who he is, head of Microsoft, announced that he thought every family would have at least one computer in their homes in the near future. And you know what? Everyone laughed. Everyone didn't think that was truly a possibility. Now I'd like you to text chat me through how many computers, including mobile phones, because those smartphones are really a mini computer, you have in your house these days. Do you have 1 computer? 5 computers? I want to see if any of you break the record of what I've seen in my travels. Okay, we've got people saying 6, 5, 4, 6, 2, 8. Who's that that's got 8? That would be Bronwyn. 6 from Ian Jubbs, 9 from Irina. So, you know, who would have thought that we'd have 9 computers in our house, you know, down the track. Now, moving on from there, there was a 20-year gap until the real reign of email. I mean, of course, email came in the 90s. Some companies adopted it more. I certainly remember using it in the mid-90s in my first role, which was at a government organisation in New Zealand. And I loved it at first because, I mean, at that point in time, I was using the fax to send out press releases to the media all over the country. And I could literally spend all day on the fax, sending faxes out to each of the media. And when email came along, that changed that task to only take me 5 minutes, and it freed me up, which is exciting. So now, hands up if email is actually the bane of your life. You love it, but you hate it because it causes you an awful lot of work. I imagine there'll be lots of hands up here. And if I could, I'd put 2 hands up right now because I find it very overwhelming, the amount of email I personally get. So that's interesting. Now, if you move on to the mid to late 2000s, notice the time frames here are getting much smaller. We had the reign of Google, and who would have ever thought Google would be toppled, but I do feel like now they actually are starting to be. So look, Google came along and we all started searching on there for answers to all life's questions. And hands up now if you use Google. I bet there'll be a sea of hands because who doesn't, to search for just about everything, right? Sure, many internet browsers start with a trip to Google. Well, look, along came Facebook in the mid-2000s, but it wasn't until the late 2000s that I guess Facebook really took off. And I'll tell you why Google are actually quite worried about Facebook, and I have that firsthand from friends who have visited Google as recently as last year there in Silicon Valley. Basically, Facebook, people are starting to search for information inside Facebook. I don't know if you've tried this, but I suggest you do. If you're looking for a product or a service or a person, you can use the search bar in there and you can change it to search for one of those things. You can search for a business group and drop it down to groups. You can search for a business page and drop it down to page. And Google know people are doing that, which is kind of rendering Google obsolete. I mean, not everyone's doing it. Still hundreds, millions of people are searching on Google every day. Don't get me wrong, but that is a bit of an issue in terms of trends that I want to make you aware of. Okay, now where's it all going? Well, it's going towards that little phone there that many of you said you had when I asked you how many computers you have at home, and that's an important thing to know in the context of this program. Another thing I want you to know is that the NBN, so Michael's Broadband Today, are letting people know when it's coming and what it means for business, which is great. But just last week there was a new announcement, so over the next 3 years, who's getting it? But if your area isn't, I want to make the really important point that it's not all over Red Rover. It's not all doom and gloom. There's plenty of things you could be getting on with right now, and that's exactly what this program is. In fact, if you're not getting it for 3 years, it actually represents a really good time frame for you to perhaps redirect your whole business model, to redirect the ship, to plan, to implement and execute and gear up. And there's heaps of things you can do now with just plain old broadband anyway. So if that's the case, what exactly should you be focusing on? Let me take you through 10 top strategies so that you've got something to take away from tonight and getting on here. I wanted to give you some value that you can be focusing on. But I'm going to be going through these really quick. Okay, number 1, you must have a website, but don't just design it for a desktop or laptop anymore. You actually need to design it for mobiles and tablets too. If any of you have a thing called Google Analytics, which is a free tool from Google that helps you measure your web stats, you can actually see how many people are accessing your website via mobile. There's a bit of homework. Suggest you go away and have a look exactly how many people are doing that, and you might be quite surprised. So other homework, are you 100% confident your website is suitable for mobiles and tablets? And if not, start asking questions of your web developer or working out a strategy to get there. And if you do, the program will actually help you to get there. Number 2, you must get social media savvy and quick. I'm going to introduce you to our social media specialist, Zoe Wyatt, soon. But in the meantime, these are the things we see people get wrong a lot of the time. you can see on that list, a lot of them skip to point number 5 and they just throw up a company Facebook page and they say, I'm doing social media. And that is not doing social media, I'm afraid. You've missed some very important points if that's where you've got to. Number one thing you should do is have a social media strategy. That is, ask yourself, what is it you're trying to do on here? What are your business objectives? Who is your target market? Who are you going to get to look after the stuff for you? Over what time frames are you trying to achieve things? There's a lot of questions you need to answer there. Second is have a social media policy. You know, what are you going to post up on social media policy? Who will post it? When will they post it? How often? How? Direct on the social media network or using tools? There's lots of questions around that. We run through that in the program too. Next up, I suggest you get them trained, because you can fumble your way through, but gee, we see a lot of people doing it the wrong way. Just yesterday I had a person ringing me saying, oh, I've been advised, and it was actually by a creative business, like someone in the industry, to set up on LinkedIn for the business using a profile, and that's absolutely wrong, and we see people doing that on Facebook all the time too. So there's something to know from tonight as well. If someone requests to be your friend on Facebook and using a business name, they've got it all worked out wrong. They should be using a Facebook page. So if you've got that wrong, you definitely need to do the program and learn a bit more from us. The other thing is you've got to keep updated. So I'm going to give you, and our team is going to give you in this 12-week time frame, current information on social media. But I can tell you that after that program, there's a high chance something else will come out. I mean, only recently, Facebook's totally changed not only its profiles, but also the pages have changed too, and with a new thing called timeline. So if that was to come out in 6 months' time and throw you, you need to work out a strategy to keep updated in social media too. And then you can get on with all the fun stuff, and we'll certainly be covering that on the program of how to set up a Google Plus page and a LinkedIn one and so on. Look, here's the stats. If you're still not convinced social media is something for you, you think maybe it doesn't suit your market or your personality or your time, is it worth investing it? Look how much time people are spending on there. Look how many people are on there. Look at the number of contacts. I mean, basically, you need to go where your market is. So if your market is spending a lot of time on social media, and I can tell you right now, every age group is, male, female, every location is, then you've got to take a look at it. So I'm going to skip through this. You've probably had a quick look at some of those stats on screen. If you haven't caught it, don't worry. You will get another chance when you get the recording. I want to keep moving. Okay, strategy number 3, you must review your current marketing mix and reallocate funds that are not working for you. So quite often I get asked, you know, I've got this opportunity to advertise in a newspaper or a magazine. It's a really crash hot deal. Should I do it? Or I get asked, you know, there's an expo. It's for my industry. It's quite expensive, but should I do it? I always throw it back to the person and say, do you think you're going to get your money back? Whatever you pay to do that, do you think you'll get it back in sales or leads? And if they say, I'm not sure, I'd say, well, don't do it. But if you're sure, do it, break even, or even better, actually make money from the exercise. The thing is, though, people, with a lot of the traditional advertising, and I'm not saying don't do it, you know, if you were to say I do yellow pages or white pages, for instance, and it really works for me, and if you were to say I track it and I know every month, every week I get leads from that thing, then don't change that particular thing. However, if you're not tracking it and you really don't know, that's the first thing you need to do. But the second thing you need to do is perhaps look at some of these digital marketing strategies which tend to give pretty good bang for buck. And we go through those types of strategies quite a lot of detail throughout the program. Number 4, you also have to take a look at cloud solutions for backups and disaster management. Now, lots of people in Queensland have suffered terribly through natural disasters in recent times. Hands up if you've personally been affected by floods, fires, cyclones. An awful lot of people have, and I've talked to them a lot through the DD webinars I'm running. So look, what this means, this whole cloud thing, is that we've always had the software that sits on our computer. But what happens if you lose your computer, or your computer dies, or there is a cyclone or a flood rips through and all that data on that server, that computer gets ruined? I suggest that every business needs cloud computing solutions, that they need to get their data backed up and into the cloud, which is basically the Ethernet, the internet, whatever you want to call it, It's not sitting on a hard drive physically. It is sitting on a hard drive somewhere else in the world, and you need to go through a bunch of risk and security things around that, and we'll teach you that stuff, but you do need to take a look at cloud. My business personally has been entirely cloud since 2008. That means our account system, our quoting system, our project management system, our email, every aspect is all in the cloud. And you know what? I did have a laptop stolen on the Gold Coast recently. All I needed to do was go to a friend's house with the internet, and I could jump straight in and start working on the cloud. Michael Dodge has just asked, how's security on the cloud? Michael, that's a big question, and one we certainly answer over the 12 weeks of the program, but one I unfortunately just don't have time tonight. Zoe may be able to answer some of these questions coming through here and there. She'll do her very best. Okay, strategy number 5, if you can sell online or take bookings online, I really think you must. I think there's been a lot of businesses towing the line on this one. They've been waiting to see what their clients do. They've been thinking that their clients wouldn't use it. They've been thinking it's a bit expensive to do. You know what? There's heaps of really affordable systems that you can tap into, and we're going to introduce them to you over the course of the program. And that will basically open up your business to become 24/7, and I think you're really going to like taking a look at it. Number 6 is you must understand how to position yourself well online. So there's these words like search engine optimization, there's pay-per-click, there's Google Places or Maps. We're going to teach you that stuff in the program, how you can improve your chances of coming up high on the search engines for whatever it is you want to be found for. So look, a lot of people think they're pretty clever because they type their name in and they come up. Well, I can tell you that Google's really clever now, and it will actually render you results based on your location, based on who you are, based on what you're searching and you have searched before, and a bunch of other factors. There's actually over 200 factors that determine where you come up on Google or other search engines. So we're going to explore those in the program. I would suggest rather than your company name, though, you want to be coming up for words that people are searching for when they don't even know you, but they do have a need for a product or a service. So let's say I wanted to find a builder in Maroochydore because that's where I'm based, and I wanted someone to build me something. I'd probably go into Google and do that, as would your customers probably. If you want to know how to come up and be one of those people on that front page that gets a bite at the cherry, so to speak, come on the program and we'll teach you all about it. Strategy number 7, you must understand your website statistics and do something with the data. You know, Google Analytics, as I've mentioned before, is a fabulous tool. It really is. I can't even believe it's free, to be honest. It's that good. And then not only that, but these days you've got fabulous tools in the form of Facebook Insights and other social networking statistical programs we can introduce you to too. I mean, I was gobsmacked when Zoe, our social media specialist, who I'll introduce you to in just a moment, shared some of these stats with me last week. I mean, I knew that our page had 1,200 likes, but I didn't know we had 386,000 friends of friends. That's a phenomenal figure. And I didn't know that in that week, 59,000 people, we had reached them somehow through our broadcasting, and we had this big jump when the program launched. So isn't that fabulous? So good for me to know. But similarly, I want to know about it if the figures are down too. So I'm going to teach you to find those figures and understand what they are and what you can do with them. Really important business development skills. Now, the other thing is, if you're going to get more active online, you need to monitor and manage your online reputation. I know for a lot of people that's a concern. If I'm going to do social media, if I'm going to get up higher on Google, more people are going to find me, but what if they say bad stuff about me? Well, this is just one of many tools we'll introduce you to that will help you know what people are saying and whether it is good, bad, or otherwise, and how you can respond and when you might like to respond and when you might choose to just know that that's out there. So this is just one tool on screen. It's called Hootsuite. It's a really good way to monitor and manage your online reputation on social media. So there'll be other tools we'll introduce you to, but there's another little sneak preview. Strategy number 9 is you must understand your online advertising options and work out what's best for you. You know, there are heaps of options when it comes to this. You've got affiliate advertising, you've got AdSense, you've got banners on your website and buttons, you've got banners and buttons on other sites, you've got banners and buttons and links within an email broadcast. So I'm going to go through that stuff. You know, maybe you've never even thought about that, and you might discover a whole new way that you could be marketing your business that's actually really cost effective. And finally, this is the 10th strategy I really think you must doing whether you engage in the program or not, is you must understand who your competition are and what they're doing online. Really interesting point on this is a lot of businesses I talk to, I'll say, who are your competitors? And they'll rattle off a few. Then I'll go use some of my professional software to find out who their competitors actually are. And online, it can be very different. A lot of the businesses may not even realize that business is being stolen from under their nose every single day and in quite large volumes, all because they're not as well positioned online as their competitor is. So yes, they might have a good name and they might think a competitor is someone with a good location, but there could also be competitors online. So we take you through that stuff too. On a final point here is a lot of people talk about this digital wave that's coming. It's going to come when the NBN comes. I'd like to argue that it's actually already here. So you have one of 4 choices as to how this digital wave affects you. This is the first option. You can just about drown. It can engulf you, overtake you. You can flounder in there and just try and keep your head above water, and that's about it. Option 2 is you might be just about to take a fall. You've kept up pretty well to date, but you know it keeps innovating and changing now, and you're not really doing so you're about to take that fall. Option 3, you can, with a little bit of training and skill, you can actually ride the wave. You'll probably enjoy the ride. You could still fall off at any time though. Or even better, this is what I hope this program gives you. I hope it gives you the jet ski to stay out in front of the digital wave, to feel confident, to feel safe, and to really know what you're doing. So if that's not an analogy that you understand, I don't know what is. Okay, so that's pretty much some content to get you thinking about this whole issue. Now I want to tell you more about the program, the Get Up to Speed program. So here's some information. It's a 12-week program, and essentially it's delivered online. The reason we're doing that is we can then help more people. And also, we know that you're time poor and, you know, you might struggle to find the time to do this. So by delivering it online, you can engage in it at a time that suits you. So if you're an early bird, you can get up early and work on this. If you're a night owl, like me, you might be up late working on this. If you get a lunch hour, you might be working on this. And if you get time because it's your own business and you can call the shots, you might decide to work on this, work on the business and not in it. So look, as part of the program, if you choose to sign up, you get 12 webinars. You're all on a webinar right now. This is what it is. It's a seminar on the web, hence it's a webinar. They're all recorded, so if you can't get on one because the date or the time doesn't suit you, something in life comes up, you can certainly download it and watch it at a time that suits you. There's also 12 e-lessons, and I'm going to go into what each of these is in more detail in a moment. Basically, these are emailed weekly. They're sent via email. They give you a bunch of information on the topic for the week, and then there's a range of links and exercises and videos and things that we'll be encouraging you to go off and do from there. Okay, there's a private Facebook group as well. That's already well underway of people who have already chosen to sign up for the group. I'll show you more about that in a second. There's a members-only area full of resources. We're adding to it all the time. And also you get an accredited unit and a rebate. Don't worry, I'm going to skip over these and go into these in more detail now. First up, who's eligible? Right, you've got to be an Australian citizen living in Queensland, or a permanent resident of Australia living in Queensland, or a Queensland resident who's a holder of a permanent protection visa and or an existing worker. This criteria is set by Skills Queensland in their contract to us, so that's the reasoning for that set criteria. Who are the trainers? There's another picture of me. I'll absolutely be one of the trainers that you'll jump on some of the webinars and I'll share my knowledge as best I can. Karen over there on the left-hand side, she's our resident pay-per-click and search engine optimization specialist. If you don't even know what those things mean, don't worry, she'll get on, she'll explain them, and she'll answer any of your questions if you're already doing that stuff. We've also got the lovely Zoe Wyatt. And at this point, I'm going to introduce you to Zoe because she's actually online doing a great job facilitating this session now. So, Zoe, do you want to let everyone know who you are and what you know? It looks like you're unmuted, so you should just be able to talk. I can't hear you coming.
Here we go. That looks better. Can you hear me now, Bev?
I sure can. Fire away.
Okay, fantastic. You caught me tweeting. Good evening, everybody. You probably see some of you I'm already talking to on Twitter and over on Facebook. So I'm the social media specialist for the Creative Collective, but I also own and run my own social media agency called Social Media Shortcut. I've been using social media for a number of years now in my own business, and I'm very happy to say that I turned to social media out of desperation. After 10 years between government agencies, I started my own environmental consulting business. I'm a marine biologist by training. And I quickly discovered in trying to build my own business around our family of 5 with a Brady Bunch that everything I did in my business still came back to marketing my business and myself. And I really wasn't prepared for that when I started my business. I then went and spent a lot of time and an awful lot of money on learning digital marketing. I started in video marketing, and the lady who was teaching me video at the time said to me, Twitter, Zoe, Twitter, 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 it's going to be the next greatest thing. With a great deal of hesitation, I jumped onto Twitter. I didn't really get it in the beginning. But in that first week where I made some connections and people started talking to me, and then I made a $2,000 sale directly off Twitter, I got excited. I took it a lot more seriously, and I approached it from a marketing viewpoint. From there I grew, and I'm very happy to say my relationship with the Creative Collective actually started on Twitter. Yvette found me on Twitter. So for those people that are asking me questions tonight, specifically Michael, you've asked some questions about Twitter and connecting there. I definitely encourage you to do that. The Get Up to Speed program is on there already. We're at Get Up to Speed Pro, P-R-O, if anyone that's over on Twitter, and we're using the hashtag GutsPro, G-U-T-S-P-R-O, so there's lots of conversations going on over there, and you're most welcome to link up with me personally. It's in my maiden name. It's at ZDeluca, at Z-D-E-L-U-C-A, to carry on the conversations and to ask additional questions, but also to get some exposure for you. If that's all double Dutch to you right now, then I recommend you join us in the training, because I'm going to be doing a number of trainings on social media marketing, and you are going to get my extensive experience, not just now in Twitter, in Facebook, in video marketing, and of the emerging social media marketings, and working out which ones are right for you and your business and where you should be putting your time for the maximum returns with the minimum amount of commitment. I see a lot of business owners trying to keep up with social media marketing, and they're spending way too much time for the return that they're getting for their business. So we're going to focus on that and show you not just how to maximize social media, but how to be in the right places to get the greatest return in the minimum amount of time for your business. Thanks, Yvette.
Thanks heaps, Zoe, and I think it's also important to make the point that Zoe's born and bred in northern Queensland too, so you know she knows Queensland very well, and you know I'm sure she can add a lot of value in that understanding of regional business too. Her family, you know, ran a business, and she still has many contacts, particularly up north, that are in that space. Isn't that right, Zoe?
Yeah, it is, and I'm working with a number of business owners that are working in regional, remote and rural Queensland, from everything from hardware store and fish hook producers right through to nuts and bolts, bricks and mortar rather, businesses as well. And I'm very excited that I can actually go to those guys and give them a training you can access from anywhere, as long as you've got a half reasonable internet connection. If you don't, we can look at ways of assisting you to find some that do. I know there's some of my contacts and family members that will be doing the training from their local library while they're waiting for the NBN to be rolling out. And that's really exciting. We can give you access to emerging technology. And for a lot of the rural remote guys, you're getting access to the NBN and greater broadband services before we even are here on the Sunshine Coast. So I say grab that opportunity and go with it. And I'm very excited to be bringing it to all of Queensland, not just the southeast corner.
And we're so excited to have you on the program too, Zoe. You're such an asset, and what I love about Zoe is that she has a real knack of making some sometimes quite complicated things seem so easy, and she really gets everyone fired up. I've seen her do it many a time, and I'm sure she will when she's working with you too. Okay, moving on to a few other introductions of really important people that are making this whole wheel turn that you may talk to on the phone or email. Glenn here is part of my team, works at the head office of Creative Collective. He'll be involved in a lot of the reporting of the program, but he also occasionally answers the phone. Jag Quimby in the middle there will deal with all our tech stuff. So on future webinars, you'll probably find that he's online facilitating a lot of them, and anything sort of a technical nature, he's our go-to guy. He's your typical Gen Z, basically lives on his iPhone, and basically had a phone in his cot, I reckon, because he's pretty good on everything. And he's also a massive Apple Mac fan. He uses everything Mac. Elise here on the right is our newest recruit, and she's actually a very important person on this program. She is the project coordinator, so she is the first point of contact for anything related to the program. If you have a question about signing up, about I don't know, how to do things. I know she spent quite a lot of time today with a certain person and helping them understand how to get started. She's there for you to help you, so that's her pretty face there, so you know what she looks like when you call up. Few other key people, Ian Montague on the left there was integral in the applying for the funds, so we wouldn't be doing this program if it wasn't for him. And he'll be also helping us report back to Skills Queensland on the progress, and hopefully there'll be lots of great success stories to share with him. Lynn in the middle there is from Australasian Leadership Academy, or ALA. She's basically responsible for assessing you, so you might like to be nice to Lynn if you're dealing with her. I'm going to explain the whole assessment thing in a moment, but yeah, she's basically taking the things you'll submit for assessment at the end and working out whether you are able to get the accreditation after that. And Vicky Kotaris there works really closely with Michael Wyatt at the Sunshine Coast Council. She's, I guess, coordinating with the councils to make sure that they're informed and they're rolling this program out in the various regions across Australia. And the reason she hasn't got a picture is because most of the others I just Googled and found a nice, what I thought was a nice picture of them online. Vicky's very new to this stuff, and she's been joking to me, I need to do the program too. So I think she's pretty excited to be involved because she is taking on a lot of new information, and yeah, so that's why she's just got a generic Facebook shot for the time being. Okay, this is probably a pretty common question, is what will I learn if I do this program? What's actually the content? Well, this is all actually on the Get Up to Speed website, which is getuptospeed.com.au. But just to take you through it quickly, week 1, we kind of focus on a topic per week. Week 1 is your online toolbox. So basically, what is all the equipment and things you need to know if you want to run an online business? And some of you who are already running businesses or online businesses might think, I've already got email and all that stuff covered, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised to find that there might be the odd little suggestion on there of things that perhaps you can do to improve. So I want to give you a really nice foundation so we can all move forward together. Next up, we're going to look at your current digital presence. This is not a race. It's not about competing with one another. It's about working at exactly where are you at now. Do you have no digital presence, maybe no website? That's okay if that's the case. Or do you have a website but it's not really working for you? I really want to get some figures and stats around exactly what's going on. So I'm going to introduce you to some tools, and you'll do some exercises around working out how you're performing and what potential you actually have. Then your website developments. Some of you may need to build a website, and I'm not going to show you how to build it, but I am going to talk you through what your options are, what platforms there are, what important considerations you must look into before building a website. And some of you through the course of the program may discover that really a bit of a rehash or a revamp is in order of your website, and that should give you some good ideas around that too. Week 4, we'll look at selling online. So not only selling what would probably come to mind like products, but also commercializing your services, maybe, you know, taking those appointments online, maybe selling events. There's so many things you can sell online, so we'll look at all the options. I'm pretty sure that no matter what you do, there'll be something in that lesson for everyone. We'll then look at search engine optimization. Now, I said there were 200 factors which determine where you come up on any given search engine, so we're breaking this down into 2 weeks, basically on page and off page. And through those 2 weeks, you'll be working quite closely with Karen, who I introduced you to before, who is, as I said, our SEO specialist. Then you'll get to work with Zoe in week 7. Now, social media for me is really sexy right now. Everyone wants to know about social media, so you might have even be joining this program or taking a look at this program specifically for that. Let me get really clear on this. A lot of people haven't got the fundamentals right. That's why we wait till week 7 for you to get some social media stuff. You need to have a decent computer. You need to have a website. You need to have a strategy before you start looking at social media. So that's why that's at that point. And we've broken it down into 2 weeks where, again, you'll be working closely with Zoe on that, on the webinars, and she'll have a big input into what's in the e-lessons. We'll look at social media for the individual, and then secondly, social media for the business. Now, there is a lot of different networks. Some people will want to focus on some networks. Some are very advanced, some aren't. I just hope you appreciate that we're going to do our very best to give you a good foundation in social media, but there will be a lot of links and saying take a look at this if it interests you as well. So I want you to know it's a good foundation of social media, good introduction to it. Week 9 is pay-per-click. So I don't know if you've ever been onto Facebook or Google or LinkedIn and notice that ads turn up, and sometimes they're kind of related to what you're looking for, which is kind of a bit weird. Well, we're going to teach you, if you want to get your ads coming up to a relevant market, how to do that. What's the cost involved, what's the process, and so on. Week 10, email marketing. Is it dead or is it not? You know, a lot of us send out broadcasts via email. Some of us get a good response, some of us don't. We'll talk about all the ins and outs of that, what email systems exist, and help get you skilled up with that. Then we'll look at other online advertising options as well. Like I mentioned, there's affiliate marketing, there's banners, there's so many. What could your business be doing? And finally, in week 12, we'll basically conclude by looking at your web stats, and hopefully you've made some good leeway, you've made some good progress since the earlier weeks when we've assessed it. We'll also look at your online spend, and we'll also be talking about the assessment, what you have to do to get formally assessed. I'm not going to focus too much on this slide here because you're on a webinar now, so you've done pretty well, but I will make the point that webinars in future will actually be conducted for the program on a different platform, which is WebEx. The reason for that is a lot of the council workers who are wanting to engage, GoToWebinar doesn't work so well with them and their firewalls, so we'll go on over to WebEx. It's very similar. I'm sure if you found your way on here, you'll find your way on WebEx too. All you need, as you can see there, is an internet connection and a computer with a microphone, which might be built in, or which might have, like the little blue guy there, a little headset. Some of you might even choose to invest in a headset. It doesn't come with the program. You can get those for as little as $20 from places like Dick Smith's, and if WOW is still open near you, those stores as well, stores like that. You only need to download the software once for WebEx, and then at the appointed time, you click on the invite link just as you did tonight, and you jump on a webinar session. They're going to be conducted in the evening. We just decided today, actually, they're going to be on a Tuesday night. They're going to be at 7:30 p.m. The reason for that is we've actually conducted a little bit of a survey as people have been registering. We've been asking them what is the best time for you, and the majority seems to be between 7 and 8. So we've gone for smack in the middle at 7:30, figuring that those who are parents can hopefully have got the kids off to bed or got the partner helping them out with that on that particular night. They're going to commence in the first week of May, so that first Tuesday is when the first webinar content will be rolled out. And the sessions are going to be about 30 to 40 minutes of content where we'll do a bit of a rehash and of the given content, and then after that there'll be a lot of time for questions and answers with either myself or Zoe or Karen, experts in our field. Hopefully we can answer all the questions that have been niggling you in business. And then all sessions will be made available afterwards in this online resource portal, which I'll show you. Okay, if you're on the road, maybe you travel for work, I do a lot, and you think, I haven't got my laptop on me. Well, here's the good news. You can actually participate on these webinars on your iPhone, on your iPad, on your Android, on your BlackBerry, pretty much on your mobile device of any kind. So maybe if you're on holiday, you don't have to take the whole computer, but you might be able to slip in a little bit of learning. Right, e-lessons. I've mentioned to you that these will be sent out via email weekly. The first lesson will also go out in that early week of May. You get to read them on screen, or if you like to print them, you can do as the girl is on the bottom on the picture there. Print them out, read them in bed, read them in your break, read them when you have a spare moment. They're about 1 to 4 pages of A4 pages long, so they shouldn't take you too long to read, but there are exercises, and how long those exercises take you will really be determined by how much work you've got to do. Look, you might get a lesson and you're pretty sorted in that particular area in your business, and you might go, well, I've got everything they've suggested done, so I'm going to have a week off, and that's great. You can go do golf, do surfing, whatever you like to do to chill out. Others of you might go, wow, there's a lot here that I actually haven't got done, and you might have a more heavy-duty week. So in terms of how much time you have to spend, say, each week, I would suggest if you can make a couple of hours free a week to work on this program, that would be a good idea. But obviously, like anything, the more you can put in, the more you will get out of this. Okay, I mentioned there was a private Facebook group. Now, Zoe, I might get you to send out the link to the public page for those of you who haven't joined us on Facebook yet. So there is a dedicated Get Up to Speed program page where you can get all the latest updates about what's happening in the program, like when we're coming to your area, like a new technology that might have emerged. We're also in the process of helping introduce you to all the wonderful mentors we have on board. But once you actually pay, once you actually put your money where your mouth is, you get to get part of this exclusive Get Up to Speed Members Lounge. So basically it looks like this. At this point in time, which is a good week and a half ago, we had 7 members. I think there's over 30 in there now and more joining every day. You get to network with the other people on this program, and Zoe and I are pretty confident that this could become, a pretty powerful networking group of Queensland businesses. We've got a document up the top right there, you can see, where we're encouraging people to list the contact information they're happy to share. So you can share your social networks, you can start friending each other and following each other and helping each other succeed in business and doing some business if you like. And here you can also ask any problems, issues you're having with the program. You can feel free to share your successes as well. We'd love to hear what ground you're making, just generally for all of us to call it the water cooler of the program. For those of us particularly who work from home, maybe you don't get a chance to coordinate and chat to other businesses, and this is your big chance to do so. Okay, if you haven't been on it yet, this is the program website, getuptospeed.com.au. I have to make the comment that I don't look my best in that photo because Jag, the technical guy, caught me on a day where I didn't have my hair or makeup done, but he was about to go on holiday, so we had to cut it. But look, if you want to share this with maybe someone else in your business or a partner, you want to see what they think about you doing the program, just hit play on that little 2-minute video. It's a good way of finding out more about it in a nutshell. But let me take you through what's on there. You see on the top right on that green bit, once you become a member, you get to click there and you will have been granted in the process of signing up your own dedicated username and password. So you'll be prompted to enter that. Once you do that, voila, you're in a whole new realm of this program. You can see in the top right up here, I'm in the resource portal. So it kind of looks the same as the front, but the top things have changed. So the online resource portal is where we upload lots of resources for you to work your way through at your own pace. Now, some of the things in there might not be of interest to you, so you don't look at those, but I'm pretty sure there will be something in there for everybody. We're going to make a news and announcements in here. Again, this is an old screenshot. This has already changed since I put these slides together only a couple of weeks ago. And we encourage you pretty much to log into this at least once a week. Find out what the latest news are, see what resources have been added, get reminded when the next webinar is, and so on. Other things you can do on here. Resources breaks down to webinars, e-lessons, videos, and documents. We'll be putting up short how-to videos on how to set up a Facebook account, for instance. So in the coming weeks, we'll be adding more and more to there. We'll also add documents and so on. So that's pretty much the resource portal. Pretty exciting stuff. Now the rebate. If you pay $250 to take part in the program, if you buy an internet-enabled device between 1 March and 31 December, we can actually give you back $175 cash. There is some eligibility criteria to meet. Basically, you have to buy something that you can participate in the program on. So not an iPhone or something like that, because to do the whole program on that would probably be a bit limited, but a netbook or an iPad or another type of tablet or a laptop or a desktop computer. If you're in the market for a new one, there's a little helping hand from the program giving you $175 cash back if you purchase that within the criteria. It's only extended to you if you've registered and fully paid for the program. $250 is all the program is. You must have received your confirmation, and you must have either attended this webinar, tick for all you guys, you already got it, or come to one of those face-to-face sessions, because we want to know that you're engaged, basically. Once you've done those things, you go to this link here, which you have to be a member to access, and you basically lodge the claim. You'll basically take a photo of the receipt, or you'll scan the receipt for that purchase to prove that purchase. You'll lodge the claim, and within 3 weeks, provided you meet all the criteria, and if you don't, we'll let you know and we'll talk through it, you'll get that money back in your bank account. So that's pretty nice. Okay, the accreditation side of things. How does all this work? basically, if you complete the assessment, and we really hope you do, it is a BSBEBU 501A. The unit is called Investigate and Design E-Business Solutions. So if you do this, and I'll talk more about it in a moment, that is just one of about, I think, 8 to 10 units in one of these. So you're sort of an eighth or a tenth of the way there in completing a Diploma of Business, a Diploma of Marketing, or one of these. Now let's say you've already got one of these things. You can actually tack it onto the other side, so it would work in the reverse, and then you could add on several other units and then get another one. So let's say you've got a Diploma of Business, you might do this course, and if you're successfully assessed, you could then start working towards your Diploma of Marketing. So that's pretty exciting component of the course too. What we assess you on is one of two things. So, and you can do both if you really want to as well. We will provide on the members area a website plan, and it's really tick and flick. It's not too heavy duty, but it proves to us that you've taken on board what we've been teaching you and you've made a plan for your business, because we want outcomes. So you can either do that if you're in the market for a new website or you're revamping your site, or you can actually start to prepare your digital marketing strategy. So through the course of the program, you'll have worked out, which digital marketing mix is right for you, how much money you might allocate, and so on, and the timing. Now, the assessment, so all the formal core content will be delivered from early May to about mid-July. You've then got about 2 to 4 weeks to complete the assessment, and if you're really diligent, you'll complete it as you go, and it won't be a big deal, and submit it to us by mid-August to get that accreditation. And it is actually a requirement that you do submit that. So who is the RTO, or Registered Training Organisation, we're working with? It's the Australasian Leadership Academy, so that's that lady Lynn I introduced you to, and they're working with Orpheus Consulting Group, and that's their registration number, just so you know we're all hunky-dory there. I feel like I've kind of covered most of that, so that's just some more details. Right, another component, and this is one of the last parts I'll run through, is the mentors. So if you go onto the Get Up to Speed program website now and you click on this button, Mentors, you'll actually see a growing list, and the page has changed a little bit, so it looks a little bit different, of the incredible mentors you can access as part of this program. So this is not additional. It does not cost you money to meet with these people. You pay $250, you get all that stuff I've already told you, and you get access to mentors. Now, no word of an exaggeration, some of the people who are mentors on this program would probably charge you $250 for just 1 hour if you were to go and meet them on a consultancy basis. But out of the kindness of their heart, they have actually offered to provide their services for free. They're volunteers to assist the business community to get up to speed and to move forward with the digital program. How exciting is that? Okay, so how does this process work? Well, you, if you are registered for the program, can go in and submit a mentor request. So you would look at that list and work out who you think you'd like to work with, and you submit a form and you say, I'd like to work with, let's say Lee, because I have some, let's say, HR issues. That request will come into our team, and we'll either match you with the person you've asked, or maybe a second or a third choice if that person's not available for any reason. The mentor still reserves the right to accept or decline, because we're being very respectful of the fact that they're doing it on a volunteer basis, and they might have something on, they might have a heavy workload, but they've all promised us they're going to try and make themselves as available as possible for the program. We'll then firm up that first appointment, you'll hold that first appointment, and then after that it's up to you and the mentor to work out how often you want to work together again. You are allowed to meet once, and you're allowed to say, you know what, we just didn't gel, and that's fine. And if that's the case, you can let us know, and we can try and match you with somebody else. You might get together once, and you might decide they are the best thing that's ever happened to your business, and you might decide that you want to meet with them every single week, or every bi-weekly, or even monthly. So that's for you guys to work out. Depends, how much work there is to do, how much value you feel they can add, and how much the mentor is available too. So you work that out, and then over time, the mentor will continue to report back to us just informally on how things are going, and we'll keep tabs on how many mentor matches we've done. That's our reporting progress. So there's the request a mentor. So you literally go in here. You can choose how you want to be mentored. You can choose in person, and we are trying to amass people in each of the regions. However, some of the mentors, you might really want to tap into someone who, let's say, is in Townsville. and you're, let's say, in Gold Coast. If you want to do that because they look like the person for you, there's nothing stopping you having a phone mentoring session or a Skype mentoring session or even an email one where you drop them some questions and you get them to come back to you. On that, I want to make the important point that mentors are not consultants, so that if you sit down with them, you're not supposed to say, how much will a website cost me? Tell me how much. They will probably help lead you to your own conclusions. They might say, well, how much do you feel you can afford? How much did you pay the last time? You know, how much is a better website worth to your business? So basically they'll ask questions and help lead you to your own conclusions. Occasionally they'll give advice, but often the answers are very much there, and often the information will be provided in the course content and they will help you work through that. Okay, I'm very excited to let you know that we've actually got some of our very kind mentors online tonight, and if I can find him, I'm going to now ask David Reading to introduce himself. David, how are you today?
I'm very well, thank you, Yvette. Can you hear me?
I sure can. Thanks so much for getting on. David, could you just give us a few words on, you know, your background and I guess your specialties and what you can offer as a mentor on this program?
Yeah, sure. Well, I moved up to the Sunshine Coast from Sydney a year ago, and I've been providing business consulting services since that time, but also I've been acting as a mentor to community-based organisations and not-for-profit enterprises. I also write an article each month on business strategy in the Business Matters magazine. Supporting the Get Up to Speed program will really be an extension to my existing mentoring activities, which I find absolutely fascinating, and I do it because I enjoy it. I've got an engineering degree, and I then completed postgraduate studies in business administration, and I entered the computer industry 40 years ago, if you can believe it. But that was in the UK. I moved to Australia in the mid-70s, and I remained in the IT sector for 30 years of rapid technology change. During that time, I established a number of businesses. Some were very successful, and others not so. You actually learn more from the tough times than you do when business is easy. It's important to recognize that most new businesses do not survive beyond 3 years. Usually that's because they have not fully researched their target market and have not developed realistic business plans or value propositions that their customers care about. I guess the good news is that with good planning, no business needs fail. My interest is to help all sorts of small businesses survive and prosper by helping them develop great business strategies and then work to realistic business plans. I look forward to assisting any companies that want to talk to me.
Thank you so much, David. We're so excited to have you on the program. You're a real asset with your wealth of knowledge, and not just local but global. And I want to make the important point here too that, you know, the mentors are all very, very different people. We've got different ages, different genders, different backgrounds, and their specialties are different too. The important thing to note is they're not all specialists in digital marketing or websites, not by any means. But people like David can help you get through the blocks that are stopping you from achieving that online success or even any business success, because sometimes it might be the very fact that your IT systems are all up the chute, and you know that's David's background. He might be able to help you with that. It might be because you're not clear about the direction you're heading in, and you can see on screen, and as David said, a plan is really, really important. So maybe he can help you get that business plan into place that's holding you back. So fantastic asset, and thanks so much, David, for getting on tonight to share that with us. Right, I'm now going to see if I can introduce you to Lee. Where is she? There she is. Unmuting you now, Lee. How are you, Lee?
Oh, good evening, Yvette. How are you, Dal?
Wonderful, thank you. Lee, tell us a bit about your good self and your wonderful background and skills as well.
Look, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for joining the program. I've been listening, very interested. Look, basically, Yvette, I've been in my own businesses now for over 30 years. The first business was a Sunshine Coast Business Academy, and it was the largest registered training organisation in Southeast Queensland, privately owned and operated. And in that's where I first got my, I suppose, my passion for small business. And I agree with David, the tough times actually teach you a lot more than the easy times. And in training and education, it is always a tough time. It's never very easy, highly competitive, but a great challenge. So I learned a lot in that. And while I was doing that, I had some wonderful contracts with both the federal and the state governments, and that is where I was introduced to mentoring and consulting. I was a NICE agent for many areas in Queensland, and NICE was a Commonwealth government organisation that helped start up businesses for people that had been long-term unemployed. I started a company in 1995 called Business Training Consultants, which I work under now, and that is all mentoring and consultancy. My expertise area is in human resources, succession planning. I do a lot of work with women in business, and I do a lot of voluntary mentoring in women organisations. I have a passion for young entrepreneurs, as you very well know, Yvette, from your experience.
Yes.
And I teach out at the university in HR, and look, I just love business. That's basically what it is. And I think being able to share my experience, but also what I've learned through business. I have a mentor, and I could still not do without her. She's my best friend, lives in Townsville, and it's always nice to have somebody that you can pass an idea by, and for them to be often a bucket of cold water, or say, no, that's a great idea, and what are you going to do about it? Where are you going to move to? So a mentor is invaluable in any type of business, and I'm only too pleased to be able to offer my time to the program.
Thank you so much, Lee. Yeah, absolutely. I did one of Lee's programs, a young entrepreneur one, right when I started the Creative Collective, and it was so integral for the success of my business to put that planning time in. And she's a wonderful lady with a wicked sense of humour, and I'm sure a lot of you will love working with her. And just a reminder that even though both of those mentors have said they're Sunshine Coast based, doesn't preclude you, if you're in another region, from talking to them on Skype, talking to them on the phone. If you think they've got a skill set or background that would help you, feel free to tap into that. Okay, two more lovely mentors to introduce you to. Let's see if I can find Grant. He's a very busy man. I know he's going to try his best to get on. I actually can't see his name, so it looks like he might not have made it. But look, you can see on the screen, just as an example of how different this guy is, he's in the finance area. So finance is your biggest bugbear, your cash flows up the chute, you don't know your projections, your tax, your GST, should you register, should you not, all that kind of stuff. Grant will be very well equipped to help you with some of that stuff. And look, he's a qualified accountant, runs his own practice. You know how much accountants are to usually go and sit down with them. How lucky are you if you do this program to be able to, you know, make an appointment, and it's free. Okay, finally I'd like to introduce you to Selena Ross. Selena's been a long-time business contact of mine, and she's doing the program as well as offering her services as a mentor, which is wonderful. And what I think is really special about Selena is that she's all over social media. Selena, how many Twitter accounts do you have these days?
Oh, well, because you dragged me into social media, I think I've got 4.
Yeah. And this is just Twitter, and this is a lady who, I mean, you sort of indicated to me you weren't that technically savvy before that, but look at you go now.
I know. You've dragged me through Twitter, Facebook, business Facebook pages. Then I had to go onto Skype to contact you. And then Dropbox. Thank you, Zoe. And so I'm finally getting close to going to YouTube.
Cool. And I mean, you've worked in public sector for years. Give us a quick 30-second to 1 minute about yourself and what you can offer as a mentor, Selena, which is a lot, of course, as well.
Okay, so look, I've been in and out of various businesses, tourism, hospitality, public relations, event management, etc. And but other than that, I've spent the last 15 years particularly specialising in one area for women in business, but equally just across the board with a broad range of industry areas, assisting from startup through to high growth, innovative businesses, exporting, manufacturers, really the whole spectrum of businesses and all of their critical issues, to the point where I can meet with a business and very quickly assess what their issues are. Often the issues that they come to me for, there's really underlying issues that I diagnose, and I develop action so that they can put them into place and quickly move forward.
And you're also like a walking Rolodex, as the other mentors are as well. If you don't know how to help, you're very good at connecting people, not just locally on the Sunshine Coast, but just today I rang Selena, I said I need some help with Cairns, and she had bunches of contacts up there. So great lady also to have on the program, and thanks so much for getting on tonight, Selena, to be part of this presentation. Okay, now just to wrap up, I want you to not just hear from me how great this program is going to be, but to hear from someone who actually took part in a similar program, though not the same. Last year it ended. So, g'day Christine, are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Sure can. So Christine,
Oh, good.
Just let the group know, if you would, what your two businesses are and why you signed up for the last program and what you got out of it.
Yeah, well, the reason I signed up for the last program, because we had only been in our business that we started up, Impact Asphalt, which is asphalting driveways and roads and things like that. We'd only been in that business for about 1 year, so we're still fairly new and wanted to make sure that we, put our best foot forward and that we were going to get found and the work was going to keep coming. And yeah, that was our main concern, I guess, being so new in the industry. And my other business is New Zealand Weddings, which is proven to be a lot more sort of competitive, a lot more hard work, but yeah, doing the course, yeah, just gave us all the best tools we could to give it the best shot we could with our business, and it's proven to be successful.
So by successful, can we get a bit of a handle on that? I mean, how many likers do you have on Facebook, say, for Ultimate New Zealand Weddings? You've got a pretty good following, don't you?
Yeah, Ultimate New Zealand Weddings, I think there's about 1,300 or something on there, which, yeah, just like I'm only sort of a one-man band with that, so that's been pretty good. And Impact Asphalt is quite a lot less, but because it's a different sort of industry, it's not so much social media with that, it's more sort of about the website rather than social media, whereas the weddings is the opposite. So
sure.
Yeah,
and I mean,
so I get to put both to work.
Your husband is a bit of a classic in that he was a real naysayer when it came to websites. He really didn't see the point of investing any money in a website, did he? So you convinced him that, and now what does that website mean for that business, the asphalt?
At least 80 to 90% of our calls and like our contact with people wanting work done is through the website.
Yeah.
So yeah. Yes, my husband is very old school. He knows how to turn it on and check the weather report. So,
so really, you probably wouldn't have the business you've had and the growth you've had you not, would it be fair to say, done the program or got that website really working well for you?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, just to be able to use the website how I wanted to and learn how to optimise it and how to be found, and even just we didn't want to go putting big sums of money into pay-per-click ads and things like that, so we've used that the best we can with, like, sometimes we even run $5 a day on that and it was still successful. So, but yeah, Impact Asphalt's managed to double every year, so yeah, we're doing good.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, Christine, so much for letting everyone know that you've done a program like this with us and that we're reputable and that you got some good results. It's really great to have your input on there tonight. So, look, I want to wrap up because we have gone a bit over, and to be perfectly honest, I've got another webinar very soon, but how to register. You've got two options. This is actually old, and it's from when we did the live event. I should have amended that. I do apologise. There is a registration form. At the live events, you will be handed one. So if you come to any of those coming up around the regions, we can hand you a physical copy. Best for us is actually if you go to the getupspeed.com.au website, the register page, and complete it online. The other one is to get a registration form. We can email those to you if you'd prefer, and then you can email or fax them back. We'll warn you, they're quite in-depth forms. They're about 5 pages long. Reason being that with the Skills Queensland requirements and the accreditation, there is quite a few questions we require to fulfil reporting on that. Now, there are only 500 places on this program, which sounds like a lot. And again, I haven't updated that slide. I think we're up to about 100 already. So that's how fast they're going. This slide's about a week old. And then having said that, we're only going to take about half of that in the first semester. And we've done just one live event so far. And now this webinar, we've actually got 6 more live events around the region, so I think it's going to fill up pretty fast. So, not joking around, if you do want to do it, I suggest you get on there soon. There's nothing like acting while this topic is hot. If you leave it a few days, you might then decide it's, you're busy and whatever, and you've missed out on a fabulous opportunity. So please, if you are keen on this, you like what you've heard tonight, I really strongly encourage you to get on board with that. Now, I want to give you just a really quick opportunity to ask questions. Like I said, I do have to get off and get along to another webinar pretty soon, but you can text chat those through, or you can click on the hand one repeatedly if you have any questions that you would like me to answer. A few people are saying good night. It seems like they're happy. They've got all the information they want. I know that, oh cool, Ian wants to ask a question. He's flicking. G'day Ian, what can I help you with? Now Ian, for us to communicate, you will need your mic on and you will need the volume turned up as well. So depends how your computer's configured. If for any reason I can't hear you, which I can't at the moment, you can feel free to drop me a text chat on the questions area. I'd be more than happy to answer your question that way. Yeah, I don't think it's going to work with the sound. It's going to mute you, but feel free to drop me one. Flick your hand repeatedly if you have a question. I think I saw someone else do it. No? Well, look, I can presume if it's silenced that you've got what the information you needed, which I hope is the case. I'm happy to wrap up. Just a final opportunity. Looks like Brian Cooper might have his hand up. Brian, did you have a question? No question, just a big thank you. Okay, that's very nice of you. Well, thank you. We're getting some great feedback coming through on the text chat. You're very welcome. Thanks for giving up your time today. Do appreciate it. And hey, if we're coming to an area near you, look it up on the Get Up to Speed website. Click on the events. We'd love to meet you in person. Come up and introduce yourself. Let us know you're on this webinar tonight. Thanks so much, and we really look forward to welcoming you into the program. Fabulous opportunity, and I can't wait to teach you guys a heap of stuff, as I'm sure Zoe can't either. Good night, everyone.